Hey, souls and spirits out there, welcome back. Today, I have a very special guest, my friend, Manda Jane. Manda has her own business called Manda's Reiki Bakery, where she does healing and mediumship readings and makes all kinds of wonderful, delicious goodies infused with Reiki energy. So, welcome, Manda.
Hi, thank you for having me, Lexi.
I'm so excited. I love you.
I love you too. You're one of my favorite people.
You're one of my favorite people. Okay, so I met Manda at Camp Chesterfield probably what, 3 or 4 years ago now? God, every time I think about it, another year has passed. So,
Yeah, you were pregnant or about to be pregnant with Luna. So it's been probably at least 3 years,
yeah,
maybe a little longer.
it was a Mayfest, I think it was right before I got pregnant because I think I
Yeah,
it was, like, right after that. It's like the very I think it was the very first Mayfest we had.
it was. It was my first festival at camp. Um, I think that was May of 23, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So, did you I know you live there, like, in the area now. Have you always lived in Indiana?
I've always lived in Indiana, not always in Chesterfield though. I'm originally from Indianapolis, so that's where I
Okay.
spent like my first 40 years of life in the city.
Okay, okay. How did you grow up spiritually? Did you have to go to church? Did you have any kind of faith really in your family and your upbringing?
Not really. My mom was really against church and, like, sending us to church. She didn't really have any religious beliefs, and she thought that churches were weird because they would give kids candy or, like, little treats for, like, coming to church,
Mhm.
and so she thought that was weird, so she never really sent us. My dad grew up as a Baptist, but he was born in the '60s, and he was kinda rebellious, and so he questioned my grandparents' beliefs, and when they didn't align with his values, he decided to leave the church. So neither of my parents really gave us any religious, like, upbringing. I would go to church sometimes with, like, cousins or friends,
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
like, every once in a while type of thing, but nothing on a regular basis at all. I often, like, question, like, "Is there a God? Is there this and that?" And it took a while for me to finally find a religion that I could vibe with and understand. I always kind of felt like drawn to chapels and drawn to like these sacred places and the religious like structures and statues and things like that.
Yeah.
But I was really confused on like why. Like, why
Yeah.
am I drawn to these things? I don't really even know anything about this religion other than like what I've heard is like if you're not a good person, you're gonna go to hell or
Mhm.
stuff like that. So it was kind of confusing for me as a kid being drawn to those places, but also not really knowing why.
Yeah. No, no, I totally get that. It's such a weird feeling, like, I think about it growing up, and then I think about it, now with Luna being 2, like, how I'm gonna, help shape her, but I felt the same way. We would pass, like, a beautiful church, and I would just be drawn to it, and I'm like, "Why am I drawn to this Catholic church?" Like, I've never like, why? But it was beautiful, or I still do it to this day, like, I may not align with some of, like, the hymns I hear sung, but sometimes I'll just hear one or I'll watch someone sing one and they're, like, so moved, I'll just start, like, crying. And, like, it's such a strange feeling, like, just you're drawn to want to, like, practice something, but you're not quite sure, like, why. It's such an interesting feeling. And being like, growing up trying like, being a little kid trying to figure all this stuff out, it's very hard. Like, I really think that we don't do enough for children trying to figure out their beliefs. We just kind of shove them in these places and say, "This is what it is," and we don't really give them the option to figure it out. Like, I wish we could do more as a society to, like, help that, if that makes sense. 'Cause
Yeah, totally.
it's such a struggle for all of us. Like, we've had to stumble our way through figuring out why. No one ever really helps us figure out why.
Yeah.
May
No, there's, like, no options there. They don't teach about it in schools. There's really nothing for children to learn about religion unless they're, like you said, being put in the box of their parents or grandparents', churches.
Yeah, well, and it's funny when I meet people and I'll randomly say something about, I don't know, a different religion that I've, like, come across or something, and they're like, "Well, what the heck is that?" Like, they just immediately either mark it off as, like, it doesn't exist or, "Well, it's not the true path." So, like, why do I even care about it? And I'm like, man, like, I can totally see why we're such a disconnected, like country or universe, whatever, like, the world, because we immediately shove someone else's beliefs off saying that they're not real, and I'm like, gosh dang, like, how do I help fix this? Like, this is I feel like that's one of the biggest problems we face as a society when we're just, like, immediately telling people that they're wrong about, a core thing, and especially, like, little kids, like, you're just immediately telling them they come to you saying, like, "I'm drawn to this, like, what is this?" And you just immediately, like, "That's wrong, like, let's not do that." Like, that's wild to me that, like, that happens. But it's so interesting that you're the first person I've talked to that didn't really have a family, like, forcing you into a faith. Like, I think that's really interesting that, like, I think it's good, really, honestly, that, like, you had a family that was just like, go with people if you want, but we're not gonna, like, force you into anything.
Yeah, I think it was good in some ways. In other ways, it's like, okay, it was good on the, not having pressure on the religious side of it, but then it was also kind of bad because these people didn't have any like compass for like their moral responsibility. So there was a lot of chaos in my childhood, a lot of trauma, a lot of like drugs, alcohol, addictions, things like that, a lot of fighting and fussing and like just really messy energy.
Mhm.
Um that comes with not really having, I mean, it happens in religious families too, but I feel like if people kind of have that spirit to go to and to kind of lead them, then they're not as chaotic as they are without it.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a it's definitely a nice thing to have, like, I like getting this shot with Luna because I like being able to teach her, like, morals and, like, give reasons why I'm like, this religion says this and this says that. But, like, it's when we get too structured that, like,
Mhm.
people try to suppress those boundaries. But,
Yeah.
like, we as human beings like boundaries. We like, coloring inside the line. We like knowing where the boundaries are. And if they are I think the best way is to have, like, loose boundaries so we can show, like, right and wrong, here's the morals and stuff, like, this is why we don't do this, but it's when we take it too far, and that's when people start using them in a bad way, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, using it to control other people.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, either way, like, it's good. It's my life. This is how I was raised, and I'm glad that I now know, a religion that makes sense to me.
Yeah. So do you I don't really like to put labels on things, but do you consider yourself just a spiritualist then, or is it like a fluidity spirituality?
Yeah, it's a fluidity, I think, for me. Like, spiritualism makes sense to me with the principles that were given to us at Camp Chesterfield. Like, all of that makes sense to me. But then also, like, there's a bit of like paganism because I follow the seasons of the year.
Mhm.
And for me, like, that helps my life flow a little better when I'm flowing with Mother Earth. And like
Mhm.
the things that are happening on the outside, they should be happening on the inside as well. So, like, in the wintertime, I'll tend to rest more. But as we get into spring and in the summer, like, I'm doing all kinds of things, right? And then, like,
Yeah.
in the fall, it's like, "Okay, this has been my year. I'm gonna go back within and rest and fill my cup up before I go back out into the world and give to other people." So there's that, and then I'm very drawn to, like, Greek mythology, and I'm drawn to the Hinduism, and I'm drawn to Buddhism. So, like, I'm drawn to all these different religions and their teachings because I can see the commonality in them.
Mhm.
I can see how they all have this, like, golden thread, but then also, like, I love that other cultures have these deities that they work with to help them overcome things or to help them draw abundance or, to have a baby or whatever the case may be, or it's even if it's just for peace. I love that there are these different deities that they can work with versus like in Christianity, I feel like you only have like that main like one or
Mhm.
two, three, So yeah, I really love like picking up pieces of different religions and seeing kind of what works for me in my life right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and it's such an ever flowing, like, that's I think that's my favorite part about it is that I can pick and choose, like, things based on what I'm feeling now, and, like, I'm really getting into Taoism right now and, like, just the flow, like, flowing with things, and it makes so much sense because reading it, it's natural law. and it's just going with the flow of, like you said, the seasons and everything, and just knowing that things have its own proper time and place in your life. And when you force things, like when you try to force yourself to be really active in the winter time, like it doesn't feel quite right because you're not going with the flow of it. And it makes so much sense, and I'm blessed that I get to do that because like I've never been one to be able to be too structured, but I like the idea of paganism as well, because I it never made sense to me that there was just, like, it's gonna sound weird, but, like, one overlord, and you only talk like, all of these hundreds of millions of people, like, you just gotta talk to this one person to get your stuff across and be like, "Man, that man is busy." Like, that
Right.
man
He's out here performing miracles and getting people out of comas and,
he's
saving them
busy.
from car accidents.
He ain't got time for me, but, like, I like the idea of, different aspects of the divine. Like, I can call on Sekhmet when I need a little extra protection, or I'm feeling really vulnerable and I need her strength. If I'm speaking and I need a little energy for, being able to speak wisdom and truth, I call on Athena or Ma'at, or, like, I like having these different personifications of divine to be able to call on. It makes my connection feel stronger knowing that, like, that's what they align with, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
And, like, that I'm not limited to just one thing. I don't think, like, I absolutely believe that I've had past lives in, like, in all these different traditions, but I love in a modern society that I can work with all of them. I don't have to limit myself to the Egyptian gods. Like, I can work with the Hindu ones, or, I'm finding more and more different ones out, like, each and every day. I'm like, "Holy cow." Like, I'll look into something and then I find a name of a goddess from, like, a super ancient Mesopotamian random civilization, and I'm like, "That lady sounds cool. I wanna, figure out more about her." And,
Mhm.
I like being able to do that. I don't like feeling constricted in any way, and I think that's the best thing about having, grow I didn't really grow up with people not telling me, like, not having any kind of background, but I grew up with a mom who wanted me to stay open to things and have that possibility of finding those things. And I think that's what makes not having really structured background, like, I think that makes it, I don't wanna say the best, but that's what was the best for me, being able to kind of do that.
Mhm. Yeah. It's reminding me, we have doctors, right? We have our primary care doctor that we go see for our blood pressure and whatever, right?
Mhm,
And they make sure we're good. But then, like, if something comes up, they send us to a specialist,
mhm.
someone who specializes in that theme and whatever
Yeah,
that thing is. So, I think religion can be the same way, really. Like, you have that one source, but then,
mhm,
like, you have all these specialists that will help you navigate life, and I think that's
mhm.
really special.
Yeah, well, you can even bring it down into, like, the way we as spiritualists and mediums think about our guides. Like, I have I have my core group, my core group of people, which is, like, about 7 people, and then I branch out, and if I'm gonna do if I do flame messages, I have a specific guide. If I'm learning the tarot, I have a specific guide. If I'm doing healing or my herbal work, like, they're
Mhm.
specialists in that, even in spirit. And so it's like, you can just like, I don't even know what the thing is, like, the web map. That's what I'm kinda picturing. It's like, big circle and then little circles inside and then little circles, and it just you can just keep not really simplifying it, but, like, to get to what you need, like, that
Yeah.
energy, it just makes so much more sense to me than, like, everybody, like, this one thing does everything, and just, you know, like Walmart. Go to Walmart for all your stuff. Like, yeah, that can be
Yeah.
great, but, like, how good is the stuff?
Right,
Whether
how quality is it, and am I gonna find better options elsewhere?
how good is that produce between what I can grow at my own garden or the farmer's market down the road or whatever? It still could be there, but maybe it's a little watered down compared to, what I can get over here.
Right, yeah, maybe it's a little sprayed with some chemicals that you don't want in your body.
Maybe it's grown with a little GMOs that, like, I don't necessarily
Yes.
need.
Why are there no seeds in this tomato?
Yeah, cause for concern possibly, but, you can still eat it. It'll still, you know, give you some type of something, but,
Yeah.
is it the best for me?
It'll keep you alive, but, you might have some issues later.
I might grow some, weird type of hair patch over here, but, it's keeping me
It's
alive.
fine. Your heart's beating.
You breathe in, it works. Oh my
It's all
gosh,
good.
that's hilarious. So growing as you've grown to where you are now, was there any kind of big, I like to call them truth moments? Is there any major truth moments that you had in your life, whether it was, you stumbled into a faith or something happened to you that really led you down the path where you are now?
Yes, absolutely. So in 19, my life was kind of like in shambles. I was very depressed, taking like several medications for depression. I had people living in my house that were really just taking advantage of me and causing more chaos in my life, and so I had this, like, breakdown moment where I just kind of abandoned everything. Like, my daughter was grown, she was 18 grown, she was 18, and in her mind, she was an adult, so she was talking to me in a very nasty nasty ways, being very rude, and so I was like, "You know what? If I'm such a bad parent, I'm out. You're grown, you can take care of yourself now, you're out of school, like, I'm out. I'm just gonna bow out." And so I was really depressed like that summer. And in September, I got an opportunity to go to Massachusetts to a women's cannabis retreat. It was called the Glowing Goddess Getaway, and it was amazing. I had my spiritual awakening that weekend. So I drove with some friends, like we drove the however many freaking hours it took us to get there. It seemed like forever. Once we got there, it was like I was able to finally rest for a moment. I wasn't responsible for other people, right? And so I went to my tent to like take a nap and I had this vision. I could see my grandma and my great grandma like on my mom's side. I could like visualize this photo of them that I'd always
Mhm,
seen. And they were telling me basically like, we were witches. You are also a witch, meaning like you have like special powers, like to connect and to help heal people. And they were telling me like I had not gone through like all the trauma in my life that I'd gone through just to like lay down and die and give up. They were telling me you went through this trauma so you could rise up and help other people get through their trauma. So like stop feeling sorry for yourself, get up and like make a difference in your life. And I was just like mind blown. I thought I was going crazy. They kept like showing me like flashes of Jesus like sitting at a tree talking to children. I'm like, I don't know what this means. Um, so by the end of the weekend, I'm like, I don't really know what this means, but I'm gonna follow it. I'm gonna because I'm curious, right? Now I'm
mhm,
curious and I'm like, this is different, but also it feels right. I also kind of like heard from my brother he had passed on in a very traumatic way. And so it was his birthday that weekend. And traditionally, like, on his birthday, on his death date, like, I would just be in shambles. I would cry all day because, he committed suicide, like, 10 feet away from me, and I tried to, like, talk him out of it, and he did it anyway, and so it was really, really traumatic for me, like, when he
yeah,
passed, and I kinda wore that grief like a backpack
yeah,
from 2005 up until, like, 2019, really, and so I could hear him in my head, like, on his birthday telling me, "I don't want you to be sad. I don't want you to
mhm,
be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be grateful that, like, we had that time together. Like, let's be grateful that, like, we were friends, like, we were each other's, like, first friends, and because we were the 2 oldest kids of the group, and, like, just be grateful, like, "It's okay, I'm okay, like, let's do this, like, celebrate me, don't cry and, like, be sad." And I was just like, "Wow, okay, let's do this." So, when I got home from that trip, I was like, "I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna be homeless, like, I don't know where spirit's leading me, but I'm following these nudges, like, I'm following the things that they're telling me because they keep telling me that it's gonna lead to a better outcome." And so, like, people in my life were like, Alright, she's officially lost it. Like, she's crazy. She's the crazy person in the family now." But no one really, like, stopped me. They're like, "Okay, like, let's see what happens, right?"
yeah,
Uh, and, not too long after that, I went to a psychic and had a reading, and she told me that my grandpa on my dad's side was, like, trying to get me to open up to him. So I kept seeing, like, these hawks and, like, these things kept happening, and she's like, "It's your grandpa, but when you think of him, like, you're dismissing him." and he wants you to open up to him and, like, communicate, and so I'm like, "Okay, I don't really understand how to do this, but let's do this," and so I would be like at the time, I was working for, like, Grubhub and DoorDash, and so I'd be out doing deliveries, and it was during, like, the beginning stages of COVID, and so, like, I would see these churches, and, like, I'd feel really drawn to them, and I'm like, "Grandpa, I'm not going to church. Like,
Mhm.
you can lead me to all kinds of places, but you're not leading me to church. I'm not going." Right? And then COVID happened, and my friend that lived in Chesterfield, my friend Janae, was having issues like finding a babysitter she could trust. There were no daycares open because of COVID. And she kept posting on Facebook, like, I need a babysitter. I need a babysitter. And at the time, like I said, I was doing like delivery, so I could do that from anywhere. And I
Mhm.
told her, like, Janae, I can help you with your daughter, but I don't want to drive back and forth from like Chesterfield to Indianapolis every day. And she said, "Oh, that's okay. Come and live with me. I have an extra room and we'll just work it out." I'm like, "Okay, let's see, let's try it out and see what happens." And
Mm.
so I did that, and she took me to Camp Chesterfield for the first time. And we just like walked to the river
Mhm.
and then back to our car. But I was like, "What is this place?"
Mm.
I like went by the Arc building and saw that it was like for college classes, and I saw the big stone thing that says like Chesterfield Spiritual College, and I'm like, "Wow, what is this?" And I started looking into Camp Chesterfield, like, online, and saw that they had online services because it was COVID, and so I started going to online services, and I was hooked. I'm like, "Okay, this is really cool." I thought it was cool that there were different mediums each week. I love to watch the mediums work, and I was just like, "Wow, this is
Mhm.
really interesting," and, like, Spirit kept telling me, like, "You will be doing this one day," and I'm like, "How?" I don't know,
Mhm.
and so for the first couple of years of camp, I would just, like, walk around. I didn't join classes. I did not go to in-person services. I just walked around and got to know, like, the spirit of Camp Chesterfield, and it was really, really special, and eventually I did, like, take the plunge and start doing classes and stuff,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was, like, it's totally all a part of my spiritual awakening, and I was able to at that point start communing with spirits and kind of letting not just like my ancestors but like other deities and spirits like lead me in the right direction.
That's awesome. It's such a, camp and just places in general, it's such an intimidating thing to go to things in person, and I always like that about Chesterfield that, like, so many of the statues are outside, and so it feels so more open than, like, "Come to this church, come inside," and then, like, you almost feel trapped, like,
Y-
when someone invites me to their church, like, I almost feel trapped, like, I get inside and it's like, "Oh my god," I feel claustrophobic, but I like that, camp, like, we have so many different statues to different deities and religions that you can just walk around and openly accept it, and you don't feel like you're confined, like, you can just, the natural flow and, connect in with everything, like, that's one of the things that makes camp so special to me is that, like, you can go there at any time and, like, you might see people or you might not, but you can go and do your thing and you don't have to, show up at a very specific time or, like, you can just kind of work your way in. That's what feels so special, and when we did the outside we would do the outside galas, like, that's what I loved about those because it's like, I would watch people walk up and, like, just kinda stand next to the trees and on the fringes, and they don't feel like they're confined, like, sitting in a pew, like, listening, like, they can just kinda watch from afar, and then maybe next week they show up and they sit in that chair because, they've seen it a little bit, like, I'm very much that person, like, I wanna check it out a little bit before I, dive in and sit down, and I think that's one of the best things about camp. I think actually, in 2023 when you came to Mayfest, I think you started asking me about classes then, when you
mhm.
found out that I had a house there because you it was so interesting. That was such a big year. Mayfest specifically was such a big year. You and 2 other people started asking me about classes there and having a house there, and it was, like, right after that, you all just kinda, like, dived in. It was so special that, you just needed that one little person to give you a nudge, and you're like, now
Yeah,
you guys are all in.
yeah, now we're there. I remember that Mayfest too so well. I remember you being across from me, and I remember Carly being next to me. And,
Mhm.
like, me and Carly really didn't talk, which I found out reasons, why she was so quiet that weekend, but Shiloh, her husband, was really, really talkative, and,
Yeah.
I just took a leap that Mayfest. I'm like, "What would I even sell?" Because I had gone to Spirit Fest the year before, and I'd gone, like, with my friends, and they were telling me, like, "You should set up here next year," and I'm like, "What would I even sell?" And they're like, "You bake cakes. What do you mean? Cupcakes, Reiki sessions. You're a Reiki practitioner." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know." And it was so interesting. So then we were, like, walking towards the bookstore, right? So we crossed the street, and we're in the parking lot heading towards the door of the bookstore, and across the parking lot, I see this woman, and I've not seen her there again, and every time I talk about this, I get chills. I see this woman, she has really, really dark skin, and it's really kind of, like, shimmery, sparkly, and so, like, I was drawn to her, and she was drawn to me, and so as we're walking, we're just, like, staring at each other. It was like slow motion, like a movie, right? And we finally, like, get close to each other, and she says, "Is your booth still open?" And I was like, "I don't have a booth here." And my friends were like, "See, we told you." And so I was like, "Okay, okay, fine, like, I'll do it next year." And then, like, you guys did Mayfest for the first time, so I was able to, like, not even hold off until Spirit Fest. I just jumped right in at Mayfest, and
Mhm.
we did pretty well. Like, I was doing free samples in the beginning and stuff like that, but it's grown so much since then. I
Mhm.
remember that weekend, though, of Mayfest very vividly. I had a reading, or I went to the message gala outside,
Mhm.
and, I'd bought a hat from you. It was that Sunday, so I'm wearing my hat, and Normandy Ellis was doing messages, and I remember her, like, calling on me and telling me that Isis, brought Athena to her for me, and she wanted me to set up an altar, like, for her, and so I did. I'm like, "I don't know what this lady's talking about, but let's do it," right? And I still have that altar set up to this day. I work with her very closely. She keeps me wise and skilled.
That is awesome. Yeah, I will never forget that weekend as well because you and Jasmine, were across from me and talked to me a lot. Like, you guys kept talking to me. And then Carly as well, she was very quiet, but she kept coming over to my booth, and every time she came, she bought something new, and she would ask me a new question. And finally, after, like, the 4th time, I was like, "Listen, you don't have to buy anything. What, like, just come talk to me. Like, what is it?" And she, like, every time she bought a shirt, and then she bought a hat, and then she bought some tea, and I was like, "Just sit down and talk to me a minute. Like, what's going on?" And, yeah, I will never forget that weekend because, yeah, now you guys have become some of my closest friends, and I don't know what it was, the energy about that May that, like, it completely changed the energy of camp for me. Like, it brought so many new people. I was gonna ask you though how Mando's Reiki Bakery really started because, yeah, when I knew you when it had already happened, but how did that come about? Just like your friends saying that, or were you already kind of doing Mando Reiki Bakery stuff before that, or did that is that like the origin story of it?
It's kind of the origin story of Manda's Reiki Bakery. So when I did that Mayfest, my business name was still Cakes by Manda. It was actually Cakes by Manda because I had started making cakes in like 2015. I decided I didn't want to make cakes anymore. Or didn't want to buy cakes anymore from like Walmart and Program. Like the quality is so nasty. Like that they had changed the recipes or whatever over the years, and I'm like, "This is not good cake. I can bake. I've never tried cake decorating, but I'm sure I can do it, right, if I just put my mind to it." And so the
Right.
first in 2015, I made my first cake for Jasmine for her birthday. It was a Hello Kitty cake, and it was just like the Hello Kitty face with the Wilton, like, star tip where you just, like, go in and fill in.
Mhm.
And it was delicious, and everyone loved it, and so people would, like, ask me to make cakes at that point, and I just felt, like, really inspired, to make cakes. So from 2015 to 2023, it was Cakes by Manda. And then, like, a friend of mine, like, talked me into changing the name and incorporating Reiki into it. She's a Dave Matthews person, and so she would go to, like, the Dave Matthews weekend concerts, and, like, people would be she's like, "I saw a lady in the parking lot selling Reiki cupcakes." And she's like, "I thought of you immediately, like, if you just infuse that energy and then you just sell the Reiki cupcakes, right?" And I'm like, "That's weird. I don't know." It took a while for me to agree to it, and I'm finally like, "Okay, let's do it," because then I can incorporate Reiki sessions and my baked goods, under the same umbrella. And so by Spirit Fest of 23, I was then Manda's Reiki Bakery, with my logo and with my branding package and all of that. My graphic designer decided that she wanted to design that for me free of charge, and she actually got a download from Spirit, and then within 12 hours, she had everything drawn out, and, yeah.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's hard to do because that's usually how a lot of my designs come about as well. But it takes a while to do that.
Yeah. It's like custom my logo, Manda's Reiki Bakery part is, like, all custom fonts. Like, you
Mhm.
won't find them anywhere because Kendra created those especially for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm blessed.
Yeah. So you already knew Reiki. When did you learn Reiki and when did that all come about?
I became Reiki certified, I believe yeah, it was, September of 2021.
Okay.
A friend of my friend Serena was actually going to this like Reiki practitioner workshop weekend, and she's like, "You should go with me," like blah blah blah. And I kind of looked into it, and Spirit was like, "Yeah, do it. You have the money for it, so just do it." Uh, and I did it, and I was like, "This is amazing!" Like that Reiki attunement had me feeling like I was walking on air for, like, a month. Like, I was just so high vibrational, and I loved it so much that I'm like, "Okay, like, I just did this, like, on a whim, but I really want to incorporate Reiki into my everyday life." Like, it's
Mhm.
such a healing power, it's such a healing force, and to see people, in my practice come in for a Reiki session and to just ask them, like, how they feel afterwards. It just really it's so special to know that, like, we can bring comfort to people,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
know?
Absolutely. I think I got certified in Reiki, God, 2016 maybe? It was quite a while ago, but it's interesting to me, like, because I went there, I had already been going to camp for, like, 10 years, and so
Mhm.
I already knew about energy and all those types of things, and so going to a Reiki training, like, that was just like a next step for me. But it was so interesting for me to see people um, from different faith backgrounds who didn't really know about energy or you know what I'm trying to say. I like Reiki because it lives in this like in between state that like you don't have to be really any faith to really follow it. Like I mean some faiths like immediately like whatever energy like working with energy is automatically bad but
Right.
I've really noticed that it lives in like this in between state that like just about anyone can like accept it in some type of way. So you've taken some of the spiritual healing classes at camp now. How did that how did that differentiate for you between learning Reiki and learning spiritual healing at camp?
Um, well, it's different for me because, like, in Reiki, they teach you to, like, pull the energy up from the earth,
Mhm,
right? And then it comes out of your hands. But spiritual healing, it's like you have these guides and these spirits and this energy that kinda pours into you from above
mhm,
and goes through your body and out your hands. So it was really interesting for me. I have taken like spiritual healing 1 just so I can help in the church do
mhm,
healing. I haven't really gone further with it because it's like, I'm already a Reiki master, so, like, do I really
right,
I wanna focus on other certifications at this point, but I noticed, like, in the church, when I'm doing, the healing sessions for, like, the student services, just for an example, as one time as I was waiting for another person to come up and sit on my bench, I was observing, like, you and a couple other healers, and I was like, "Okay," so I noticed that, like, the energy was coming from above for you guys, and I feel like yours was a little more than that, but definitely the other 2 people. And I just kinda thought that to myself, like, "Wow, they're bringing energy in from above, and I'm bringing it in, like, from the ground as a Reiki practitioner." And I
mhm,
heard a spirit say very matter of factly, "Not in this church." And I'm like, "Whoa, okay." So then I'm having a conversation with this spirit that's bossing me around, which happens quite frequently at camp. And I'm like, "You know what? I'm a Reiki master. I'm pulling the energy up from the earth. If you want to add energy from the top and like combine it in my solar plexus and then we send it out, I'm okay with that." And like they were okay with that as well. So like we continued on, but it was just very interesting how that spirit was like, "No, you're doing spiritual healing in this church."
mhm.
Like, "No, ma'am."
That's really interesting. I really wanted your take on that because I like to sit and observe as well, and I do it completely different from everyone else. And I don't know if it's because I have that background in Reiki and, like, a little Egyptian healing and Native American. I have blended it all, and so if you look at my when I do booths and stuff, I just say energy healing because I can no longer define it. It is something completely unique to me to where I do call in my healing guides, absolutely, and I do bring energy from above, but just like you said, I bring energy from below. That is the way I always, like, knew how to do it growing up. I bring it from the earth and then I send it out, but then, yeah, now I blend it, and it's like a blending, and when someone sits with me, it's interesting because it depends on what they got going on and what I see and kind of what chakras I see that need a little more energy, where more of it comes pulled from, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that
so
is.
I absolutely blend it, but then one person may need a little more from, like, this type of energy and then a little less of I don't it's really hard to explain, but,
Mhm.
I do blend it from both areas, but I have noticed when I watch people, um, at camp, like, there is a very specific way that they do it, and it's completely different from what I learned from Reiki, but it's interesting because it's all energy healing.
Yeah. It is very interesting, and I know that once I started blending the energies, like, I get so many affidavits now, it's like people feel immediate relief, and so it makes me feel good knowing that even if it was just for the moment, like, they got some relief from whatever their ailment is.
Yeah, I think it really needs it, and I always thought about if I were the one to teach the healing classes at Chesterfield, I would teach it that way, because that's the way I teach, like, metaphysically, like, you're learning how to use energy, and that's what I teach, that you have to have a blend of it, like, it makes sense with everything, there has to be a balance, and so, like,
Mhm.
if we think of it like earthly energy and heavenly energy, you need both to change things. And so,
Yeah.
um, I like that you saw it as well because I always wondered that, but I never wanted to say anything to anybody because I didn't want them thinking that, like, I thought it like the way they did it was wrong because
Mhm.
I don't think it is, but I think there needs to be that blending and that balance.
Yeah, I agree, I totally agree, and not that they all have to go get Reiki certified, just
Yeah,
kinda pull it in from both, pull in all the healing energies in, it doesn't just have to be from spirit.
yeah, absolutely. Were there any other things I got distracted for a second. Um, how you created Mando's Reiki Bakery. Were there any other things that you would like to see be incorporated later on?
Yeah, I'm already incorporating mediumship under that umbrella as well. And going into the spring, I will be doing more workshops, more classes, not specifically for mediumship, but I think I need to start like a spiritual development class. There are a lot of people that are coming to me and asking me if I teach that type of thing and if I can help them better understand their spiritual side, no matter whether they're mediums or healers or neither. They just want to know how to better connect with their intuition and let that help
Mhm.
guide them. So I'm going to start those classes as well. And then, I have a retreat business as well, but it's a separate from Amanda's Reiki Bakery.
Yeah, I was gonna
um,
ask about that. How did that come about?
So me and my friend Serena have helped other people facilitate retreats. Ever since that 2019 like Glowing Goddess Getaway retreat, we have helped
Mhm,
other people in retreat planning and facilitating these things and like the logistical part of it. And so we decided to instead of like letting other people use our energy, let's do this for ourselves. Like let's make
mhm,
our own unique retreats that people can come to and enjoy. My very first retreat will be in July. It's in Canada, at a house that was on a TV show. It's an old Victorian mansion built in, like, 1880, but it was also a funeral home for the town
mhm,
over 100 years, and after it closed, the building was for sale, and the current owners restored it, and so the initial restoration process is on a TV show, like, We Bought a Funeral Home. I think it's a Discovery Plus show. I think it's on Disney or Hulu, and so, it was just great how, like, spirit brought me that place, and I feel so drawn to it now, and I feel like the spirits are just pulling me there, and I'm even, like, doing mediumship for Airbnb guests for the owners at this point. I got my first booking this week to go do readings for a bachelorette party, and I'm hoping to just, like, expand on that, and then, like, does that make me an international medium at this point? I think so.
I think so, or
Oh, yeah.
just North America, I guess you could
Yeah,
say.
until it
North
gets
American
expand.
medium. Yeah.
So
I love that. That's awesome. I love incorporating kind of the spiritual stuff that we do with different places and connecting into the energy of the different spaces because I've always been a big traveler and I never understood people who could just, I grew up in a very small town and growing up, I always heard people say, "Oh, I never want to leave here. I never want to go anywhere. Why would I ever want to see something different?" And I'm like, why wouldn't you? Like, why wouldn't you wanna go experience that? And each place has its own different energy, and, that place, it has 100 of it has so many stories to tell because of everything it's experienced, and I can't wait to hear about, how your event goes. I wish I could go. You know, um, Maybe one day you can have an event where you bring a babysitter and we can just all, like, pack our kids in with that person, and then we can do stuff.
that would be fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can do that for sure, and I already booked that house again for next year.
Ooh,
Like, it's sold out this year, but I went ahead and booked the dates at the same weekend in July next year, so we'll definitely be doing another one.
that's
Hopefully
awesome.
more, like, I feel like I don't know, I feel something very special about that house, and I feel like a lot of opportunities are going to unfold as I continue to connect with the owners.
Yeah, absolutely, that's fantastic. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you, me too, and also, of course, like, I'll be making pretty cakes for the retreat.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so
I
Amanda's Reiki Bakery's there too.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
No, I gotta go in there and do my little flick of the wrist and kitchen magic.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's one of the most accessible, like, thinking about magic and thinking about energy, one of the easiest ones people can connect to because I love the meme that says, like crock pots or like making soups, like how can you not say that that's like magic, that's not potions right there, like because that's absolutely what it is. If people could just realize like that's all it takes to really, do magic, and like you just put your intention behind it, like there's no weird crazy woo woo, I mean, it's, I love calling it woo woo juju, but there's no craziness behind it, like it's
Yeah,
just, you know, knowing what to work with, knowing the intention behind it, and putting your energy and your love into it, and that's what's magic about it.
that's right. Yeah, and then when you add in Reiki or anything beyond, it's like cooking with love, but like extra. It's like
Yeah,
extra sauce, extra step, extra good
yeah.
energy.
It's just that extra energy and that extra intention to make it even more meaningful.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I feel
the
like you can put 2 people next to each other, give them the exact same recipe, and if one person's in, like, let's say they're in a grumpy mood, and the other person is very happy as they're cooking, like, you're gonna taste the difference in the outcome
Mhm,
every time.
absolutely. Yeah. It's like I love, that's one of the things I like about plants so much and working with plants because I grew up with a family who was like, we take care of the earth, we take care of the plants, we talk to them like they are their own energy and their own almost like little people. And so like that's how I got into like herbalism and doing my teas and stuff because I learned how to kind of infuse my energy into it. And you notice a difference if I gave someone a plant and then I had the same plant and like I use my energy to love it and take care of it and turn it into something, and then, they just water it and that's all that they do, like you're going to see a difference.
Yeah,
Or like if they made teas like me, you're going to see a difference or taste a difference, feel a difference between, the plants that I took care of myself and I blended, and as I'm blending them, I'm spilling my love into them and, infusing them with whatever the intention is behind it. And, if they just pour stuff into a pot and call it good, like you're going to know a difference.
absolutely, yeah. I can tell a difference between your teas and other teas.
Yeah.
Uh, Yeah, and even, like, I took your tea to a tea party. My friend Serena has tea parties, and she used to work for a tea brewing company, so she has, like, lots of their different tea blends and things, and so I brought your apple pie tea to one
Mm.
of her tea parties, and it was gone. It was there was no more in the jar by the time the event was over. People gave me so many compliments on your tea. I'm like, "Well, my friend Lexi sells them, like, if you want some, let me know, I can get them for you."
Oh, that's awesome. I love that because that's one of my easiest ways to, um, I don't know, give people that loving energy without them booking a session with me for Reiki or whatever it is. Like,
Mhm.
it's my way for them to, just kinda take a little bit of it at a time.
Yes.
And I look at your cakes and stuff like that as well. It's like, just a little boost, like a little energetic boost.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what I the intention behind when I started making my teas. That's what I wanted. And I am very blessed that I have the land to be able to grow so many of the herbs on and to where I can do each step, like taking care of them, drying them, blending them, packaging like it's so special to me that I get to be the person that does that.
Yeah,
And I love that people can taste the difference, I guess. Yeah.
definitely.
I've always had a dream, in our blue house at Camp Chesterfield that one day it'll be done and that I'll be able to teach tea readings and tea blending classes and, you'll be able to I have hutches. I have my grandmother's hutches, and I wanna fill them with my herbs and stuff, and people can blend their own teas, and we can talk about them, and we can do tea leaf readings, and, that's always a dream of mine. But it's funny, a couple years ago, the dream started shifting just slightly, and you were there with your baked goods, and we had baked goods, with my teas, and I was like,
Oh
"Cool,
gosh.
I already know Amanda's gonna be there."
Yeah, you know I'm down. I'm down for anything that has to do with you personally, but if I can bring my cake and, like, make people happy, like, that's always a plus.
Yeah, it makes you feel so cozy to know that, like, people can feel the difference in the
Mhm.
things that you've created.
Yeah, it
I
feels really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I could talk to you literally all day, I'm
I
pretty
know,
sure.
me too. I'm like, "When is this over?" Because like, we can gab, we can yap.
Yeah. We'll definitely have to do more of these, and we'll have to think of specific things to kinda do. Because I did wanna ask you, you got to go to one of the places I've always wanted to experience, the Temple of Sekhmet out in,
In
Nevada.
Nevada? Yeah.
Yeah, how was that?
I get chills, like, as soon as you said it, I'm like, chills. It was amazing. I was there last year in April, and I went with 12 other women. I believe there was, like, 13 of us all together, and we went into the temple, and, like, I gave her flowers, and we gave her all these offerings, and everyone sat in a circle and let me give them messages. So it was like a clairvoyant circle, and it was so powerful. I feel like I gave a lot of them, like, life-changing messages, and ever since then, I feel like Sekhmet has, like, drawn closer to me and wanted to work with me some more. Like, she almost immediately after coming back, she started ripping things out of my life that were not good for me, and so I appreciate her, but the temple is just full of such good energy, and when you walk around the property, like, there's all these, like, smaller places or altars, like, dedicated to different goddesses. It's not just all about her, like, she has the biggest statue and the biggest, like, building on the land, but there's just all these little spots where you could go and commune with different goddesses and different spirits, and it was a really, really special place to be. My friend took pictures of me giving messages, and so I was standing in this, like, doorway, and you could see the desert and the mountains behind me, and a few of those pictures, it's like there's this, like, almost like gas-like energy in front of me because it looks like there's a blurred background, but then if you look, like, in front of me, there's a blurred background of the scenery behind me, but if you look behind me, there's, like, this sliver of, like, clear photo. You can see the rocks and the dirt, and it's just like I feel like those photos are like evidence of spirit being right there
Absolutely.
with me. Yeah. It
Mm.
was very cool, very, very cool. I would love to go back again someday, especially if we could go together. That
Oh
would
my
be
gosh,
amazing.
I've always wanted there's several different places like that around the United States, and it's been my goal, um since everything's kinda so chaotic everywhere in the world, it feels a little safer to travel, around the United States, and now that Luna's getting bigger, I wanna start doing that. Like, I've always been big on experiences, like, I don't like, material things are great, but I want the experience of going there and seeing that and doing that thing, and I love Sekhmet. She's been my girl from the beginning, and she shows up in such a big way every time I need her. And so I've always wanted to go out there and see that. And I love hearing because I've researched it a little bit, but I love hearing that there's different little niches to the different deities. And that's one of the big things I always loved about the Egyptian traditions and the temples because you go to one of the temples and that whole temple may be dedicated to this person, but there's chapels to each of the different deities in that temple. It's not just the one, and it's like, no, we honor kind of all of them. Like
Yeah.
we've always done that, and I love that because they're also interconnected.
Right.
And so like to really honor one, you kind of are honoring them all. But I love that. Yeah, we need to plan something out there. I didn't like I traveled out there. Oh gosh, I think it was 2015. I just happened to pass through Las Vegas, but I wasn't able to go t I didn't really necessarily like Las Vegas, it kinda scared me, like, the energy was really chaotic
Yeah,
there for
it's
me.
really yeah, it's a lot.
It was really heavy, but I would love to go out there and experience that. Maybe we can start planning little getaways to these different little goddess-oriented sacred spots and do some stuff.
Yeah, that would be fun. When we went to Vegas, like, we didn't really go to, like, the Strip. We stayed in a home that was, like, 20 minutes outside the Strip, but yeah, like, that temple is, like, an hour outside of Vegas.
Mhm,
So, it takes some navigating to get out there, and it's out, like, just in the middle of the desert, in the middle of
mhm,
nowhere.
mhm. I love that with the property. I have 65 acres at my house, and I told Brandon, I was like, "I wanna do that, like, I wanna create, like, a trail of religion, and I want to, like, have it open to where people can come and, like, walk this trail, and then there just be, like, different statues of different deities, and, like, people can come and, like, just experience it and see them and, just be there." I've been slowly, like, trying to figure out places where I can get statues and, like, hopefully one day collect them and make my own little sacred space. That's what I've been really focusing on, and, because I want more places like that around here for us to see and experience, and think it's I think it's powerful. I think it's what people nowadays are kind of wanting. They're wanting more of that.
Yeah, more sacred spaces, more places to connect with spirit, absolutely.
Yeah, and and I think it's powerful that it's outside to where you are connecting in with all of the elements and kind of weaving all of it together.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. We'll talk, we'll work on it.
Yeah, let's make a plan. You hear that, spirit? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, you hear that, spirit? We are putting it out into the universe. These are the things that we want to do together.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you for talking with me today. We
Mm,
will definitely connect again, and we'll do this several different times because there's a whole host of things we could talk about.
absolutely. I'm down anytime. Just let me know, my friend. It was so much fun connecting with you today.
All the time. I love you so much.
I love you too. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.